everything you need to know about your height. Personally, I'm 6'1". Hopefully I don't find out I'm gonna die soon or something.
5 feet 2 and under. If you're 5'2" or under, you've probably been talked over more times than you can count.
Bro, it depends on your age. It depends. If you're 5'2" and under and you're young, it's totally normal. If you're 5'2" and they're under and you're over the age of 20, yes, you will get talked over, and people aren't going to be too friendly when making jokes about you.
Not aggressively, not maliciously, just automatically. That pattern isn't random. The brain processes size quickly. Throughout evolutionary history, larger bodies often meant greater physical reach and force. That pattern became a shortcut. When someone is well below average height, the nervous system registers lower confrontation cost. The dominance signal is reduced. That changes how people behave around you. They test you faster. They interrupt sooner. They question decisions more directly. But something else happens at the same time. Because you don't trigger intimidation, people relax. They disclose more. They reveal more. They guard less. Underestimation becomes camouflage. Biologically, compact frames require less total energy to maintain. Smaller bodies require fewer calories because total mass is lower.
True. They're using a lot of big words, but I'm able to understand bit by bit. Smaller bodies do require more calories. I've had friends that are like really short, and they'll be in the gym for like such a small amount of time, and they're gonna get bigger way faster than I ever could, bro. Telling you.
In environments where food supply fluctuated, lower energy demand increased long-term stability. Shorter limbs also mean movements often travel a shorter distance. In strength mechanics, that can translate into efficient force production in certain lifts. Historically, individuals who lacked physical intimidation often developed influence through strategy, alliances, negotiation, and social calibration. Power shifted from physical dominance to informational dominance. And that shift matters today. When authority isn't assumed, you learn to build it. You refine tone, you stabilize eye contact, you control pacing. The trade-off is that you may face more resistance at first. The advantage is precision, and precision builds credibility more reliably than intimidation ever can. 5 feet 3 to 5 feet 6.
Low-key, I don't see a difference. I don't see a difference between 5'2" and 5'3" and 5'6". From what I understand from what he could say, if you're 5'2" and under and really short, yeah, it's really harder because you get bullied and stuff, and you're not really scary, and I guess you're going to have to get really smart or just figure out to do anything else so that people can see past your height. But when it comes to 5'3" and 5'6", what the heck are you going to say? What are you going to say? But I feel like these are just long lost cousins of the 5'2" clan.
If you're in this range, you've probably noticed something subtle. You're not immediately overlooked, but you're not automatically given priority either. You exist in a negotiation zone. The brain reads
negotiation zone? What is this?
You as below average, but not extreme. As a result, perceived authority is softened, not eliminated. People don't assume authority, but they don't automatically dismiss you either. This creates sensitive balance. Your first signal matters more. If your posture weakens, perception shifts quickly. If your voice is steady and controlled, perception rises just as quickly. Biologically, this height range carries built-in efficiency advantages. Shorter arms and legs mean the weight doesn't have to travel as far in exercises like squats or bench press, which can make strength movements more efficient. Acceleration in sprinting and rotation can feel sharper because the limbs move through a shorter distance. Smaller
Yeah, I've had people that are pretty fast when they're shorter, so I do understand that.
Frames also require less total energy to maintain, meaning daily energy demands are lower than in larger bodies. Historically, many agile combat styles and close-quarters strategies favored compact builds. The invisible rule here is this: your power is behavioral. Because your height doesn't decide the hierarchy automatically, your tone, decisiveness, and composure do. And when you master those signals, you often surpass individuals who rely purely on structural presence. The trade-off is that inconsistency costs you more. If your confidence or tone shifts, people adjust their perception of you quickly. The advantage is control. You can gain status rapidly when signals are clean. In this range, precision isn't optional. It's how you create stability. 5 feet.
So I guess it's just a little bit better than being 5'2". All right, 5'7" to 5'10". Here is where it gets a little, I feel, better. Especially, I mean, you're still considered a bit short, but I feel like this is better than being too short. This is like a more common type of short. Because if you're shorter than 5'7", 5'10", depending on your age, it does get pretty rare the older you get.
7 to 5 feet 10. If you're here, something interesting happens. Your height rarely defines you. Your height has likely never controlled how the room sees you. And you've likely never experienced situations where your presence was judged by size alone.
Let's go! No more bullying.
You are neutral, and neutrality is deceptive. In this range, people compare you to what feels typical. Humans naturally measure others against an internal idea of what normal looks like. When your height is close to that average, it stops strongly shaping perception. Your size doesn't dominate the first impression, your behavior does. In this range, the dominant signal settles into neutral, which means something important. You don't get structural advantages, but you don't get structural penalties either. That sounds ordinary. It isn't, because neutrality shifts all power into behavior. Your posture determines rank. Your pacing determines authority. Your decisiveness determines credibility. Biologically, balanced arm and leg length gives you well-rounded movement. You don't have major reach advantages, but you also...
Yes, that's what I would personally call this height. It's a more balanced type height, you know what I mean? Like 5'10", it's like not too bad, but you're definitely not too tall. But you know, it's more balanced. Well, people that I know that are about 5'7", 5'10", I personally see them as balanced. Like, they're just right there in the middle, man.
Don't deal with the extra joint strain that comes with very long limbs. Most tools, furniture, and spaces are built around average body sizes, which means the world tends to fit you naturally. That reduces daily strain and unnecessary energy use. Historically, median height populations built institutions, armies, and labor systems optimized around average proportions. The world physically...
Yes, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. The world is mainly run by balanced, if you really think about it. By like 5'10", like really in the middle people. Because a lot of these things, like I'm 6'1", and just like sometimes my car gets uncomfortable, my chair gets too, you feel me? Like a lot of it's mainly around balanced. Like if the world was run by short people or really tall people, it would have been obvious. It would have been obvious.
Fits you. The invisible rule here is this: you don't have excuses. When nothing structural is working for you or against you, the result comes down to how you show up. The trade-off is that you can fade into the background. Without something that sets you apart, you blend in. The advantage is flexibility. You can project authority or approachability without having to fight a strong stereotype. In this range, performance defines hierarchy. 5 feet 11 to 6 feet 2.
This is basically me. Like I said, I'm 6'1". Let's see what crazy things I'm about to learn about myself.
If you're in this range, you've probably felt it. You're less likely to be interrupted immediately. You're more likely to be noticed and taken seriously at first glance.
Damn. No comment.
People are more likely to look to you when direction is unclear. That isn't coincidence. People are wired to associate height with capability. Throughout human history, greater size often meant greater physical reach and strength. Over time, the brain turned that pattern into a shortcut. When you're above average...
Oh, apologies about my camera. Oh my days, bro. I don't know why it does that. Alright, I think we're good.
The dominant signal is amplified. You receive credibility momentum. Biologically, greater height reflects prolonged growth during development, resulting in longer limbs and a larger skeletal frame. Stride length increases. Reach extends. In many sports and physical activities, that added height improves spatial control and coverage without yet creating the structural strain seen at extreme heights.
Yeah, I couldn't dunk till I was about 5'11". But if you're anywhere under 5'11" and you can dunk in basketball, You are extremely talented. You've got crazy hops, bro.
Historically, taller than average individuals have been disproportionately represented in leadership roles, not necessarily because height causes competence, but because height causes perception, and perception influences selection. The invisible rule here, you start ahead, but you're judged harder. Because expectations are higher, hesitation feels louder. When you don't display decisiveness, the gap between expectation and behavior becomes obvious. The trade-off is pressure. The advantage is that authority is granted more quickly. When you combine calm composure with real competence, credibility builds faster than it does for someone whose height doesn't influence perception. When height slightly amplifies your presence, strong execution has a greater impact.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Basically, they were trying to say, like, if you're tall, a lot of people are going to, like, look up to you and stuff. But if they can obviously see that you're not one to be looked up to, you will lose that very fast. Like, have you ever met a tall person that was actually wise, they knew what they were doing, or they did help you in what you wanted to do? Like, you gave him that type of automatic role in your life because of his height, and you didn't even notice that, but they did execute it perfectly. Me personally, yes, I'm 6'1", but do not look I don't think I've ever been in a position where I could actually help other people. I feel like if you even give me 3-5 seconds of trying to help you because of my height, I am cooked. You're gonna be like, yeah, nah. You're gonna be like, nope.
6'3" to 6'5".
6'3", 6'5". I call this the middle tall. Like, you're tall, but you're not too tall. You know what I mean? You're tall though. Like, 6'3" to 6'5", you are tall, yes. But you're not like too tall. Too tall would be anything over 6'5". But you're like the tallest, the most common tall. You know what I mean? Does that even make sense?
If you're this tall, you don't enter rooms quietly. You shift them. The brain processes size instantly. Throughout human history, larger bodies signaled greater physical capacity and higher confrontation cost. That association still operates beneath conscious awareness. In this range, perceived dominance increases significantly. People are less likely to test you. They challenge you more cautiously. They hesitate before pushing back. Physically, longer limbs extend reach dramatically. In sports that reward vertical advantage, that reach becomes a clear asset. Stride length increases, spatial coverage expands. But greater length also means greater strain. Longer limbs place more stress on joints under heavy load. What begins as advantage becomes specialization, powerful in the right context, demanding in others. Historically, taller individuals were often positioned at the front of formations or used as visible symbols of strength. Height carried symbolic authority long before modern institutions existed. The invisible rule here, intimidation is automatic, but intimidation reduces openness. Unless you intentionally project warmth, approachability decreases. The trade-off is emotional distance. The advantage is quiet authority. You don't need to speak loudly to command attention.
True. If you are really tall, you get a lot of people's attention fairly easily.
Composure alone can carry weight. In this range, power is restraint. The less you push for dominance, the more natural it appears. 6'6" and above.
I think this is the last one, and yeah, if you're anything over 6'5", you are really tall. You are really tall. You know what I mean?
If you're here, you're not average. You are rare. And humans are wired to track rarity. What's operating here is rarity detection. Throughout human history, extreme traits signaled either unusual strength or unusual risk. The brain still reacts quickly to anything far from average. When you're this tall, your presence is amplified beyond neutral. You are remembered, whether you perform well or not. People remember rare traits more vividly. Interactions with you tend to stick. Physically, reach and stride advantages become pronounced. Coverage expands dramatically, but the structural demands increase as well. Longer limbs place greater stress on joints under heavy load, which means recovery and conditioning require more intention. Historically, individuals of exceptional height were often mythologized, feared, admired, or used symbolically. Extreme stature naturally attracts narrative. The invisible rule here, you don't get neutral reactions. People attach stories to you automatically. The trade-off is projection pressure. The advantage is automatic attention. When attention is built in, perception becomes your main lever. If you manage it with calm control, your height amplifies every signal you send. When rarity is present, strategy determines whether it isolates you or elevates you. If you learned something new today, make sure to subscribe for...
Reaction is over, so yeah, definitely check out this channel if you really want. But I hope you learned something new about your height. I feel like I did. I would appreciate you if you find my commentary on this on these reactions good. Still trying out different things all the time, and you know, it's never bad to help a small channel grow. I'll see you guys later, man. I hope you guys have an amazing day.